Hi, I'm Lou Freeman. We're here in Destin, Florida at Coyote Ugly Saloon, and we're going to shoot an advertising campaign today. In our next shot, I'd like to talk about all the tiny little areas of the background of the shot that you could bring life to by adding just little spots of light. We have 3 lights on the set. We have a key light, which we're using our orb with the grid to light our subjects' faces. We have a kick light coming up here with our Apollo strip bank with a grid, and that's helping us define exactly where we want that spread of the soft light to fall, which is right on the subjects and on their bodies. The background's kind of falling dark back there, and there's some awesome mirrors on the wall behind. So I looked into the mirrors and I thought, how can I bring some light to the background? So I went over and I turned the entire scenario around by putting another speedlight with no modifier on it at all directed at a wall across the room. When it was clearly illuminated with a nice warm gelled exposure, it brought life to the background that you would have normally not seen because it would have been overpowered by the strobe light. So in this case, I also took an ISO into consideration to bring up the ambient light that's falling subtly on the bottles of liquor in the background. So we started at 1250 for an ISO, and our readings were the same, 5.6 at 60th of a second. Our 4th light is also kind of subtle and hidden in the background. We've taken one speed light and warmed it up with a half CTO and used cinefoil to make a little snoot, and it's hidden conveniently behind a column here, and it's aimed at the back of the subject's head. So after doing a test shot, I have to make sure I carefully examine the face so there's no crossover from the background of the speedlight spilling over and touching the cheeks of the girls' faces. In our setup, we decided, as soon as we walked in the room, we just really loved this whole consistent Coyote Ugly with the little tiny bulbs and the sign in the background. That was like where we began the whole shot, and started calculating how we wanted to make that impact come across. The words are already kind of giving us a designated shape or line or form to the image we're going to make as a horizontal, because it's a really long word. So I chose an angle for my camera to put the camera right on the eye level or a little bit lower than the subject so I could get that whole word in there to help me frame the whole image itself. So we began by posing the girls lying on their tummy on the bar, and then we had to work on their poses. Posing is something that really kind of sends the message and drives home what you're trying to say in the photograph you're taking. If the girls have no expression on their face, your image is kind of dead. So once you get the people into the pose you want and start filling up the frame with nice movement with the pose, you want to start really looking at the body. You want to look at their collarbone and their neck and their expression. You want to look at how their hands are lying. Are their fingers stressed and tense? Is their neck tense from holding on to a pose? You really want to take your time and ask for good direction from your subject. It will make all the difference in what your photograph turns out like in the end. So when you're working with 2 people, you want them to kind of work off of each other, not independent like the other person isn't there. This bar is filled with joy and fun and interaction between the people who come to the bar as well as the people who are entertaining at the bar. So I wanted to have some sort of sultry kind of interaction between the eyes of the subject and my camera, which is ultimately the viewer of them as they're looking at the ad campaign and making a decision whether they want to go to the bar or not. So as they were lying there on their sides, I started looking at every little inch of the image I was creating, their fingertips, their neck, their shoulders, their elbows. And then lastly, I bring the head forward, the chin down, and then I ask for the command in the eyes that I'd like to see send the message to the viewer of my photograph to win the image in the end. So talking is something I do all the way from the start to the finish. We direct the light, we take the impact, we push the subject forward, and then the last thing that sends that message across that you're trying to build is the eye contact. As you're shooting, everybody gets tired when you put them in an awkward position. They can't hold it forever. They daydream, they lose it, they relax. So you really want to stay on your toes about that and keep communicating with your subject so that you get a great shot all the way through your whole photo shoot.